Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome back to the market call for today, the 29th of June, 2026. We're excited to have you all here joining us once again as we begin the trading week. My name is PJ, and together with me, we have Avi, Cynthia, Deola, and Leko, who are going to be joining us to share their bias analysis and possible trade markups for the day and tentatively for the week. So without wasting much of your time, whether you're watching us from London, Tokyo, or New York, or Lagos, Nigeria, welcome to the market follow. We'll begin as we analyze GBP, as we analyze gold against the dollar, and we're going to start by looking at it on the daily time frame. And after looking at that, we'll proceed to other currency pairs that we have in store for you today. So starting off with gold against the dollar, we are analyzing on the daily time frame, and we can see that gold is still making a retracement, just like I mentioned last week. We're expecting a retracement on gold all the way to this level right here. This is order block impact, and it's kind of a midpoint for the retracement, because if you draw a quick flip of this region right here, you see that that particular price point is around 50%, which is equilibrium of the last sell trend that happened on gold. So we're expecting a retracement to this region right here. So I'm still bullish on gold as I was on Thursday and Friday. I'm expecting price to get all the way here before I resume my bearish bias. If you look at it on the 4-hour time frame, you'll see that we've been having very good buy setups. On Thursday, we had one. On Friday, we also showed you guys a buy setup we expected, and it played out. Today, we're expecting another round of buys, and we're expecting it to buy all the way to this particular price point right here. So on 4-hour time frame, gold is still giving us a bullish bias rather to this price point. Okay, so if you look at it on the 1-hour time frame as well, you see that we have started having microstructure from here. We're expecting it to keep buying all the way to this region here, and then we look for a sell from there. So for today, we're expecting a buy setup to play out today on gold. For this morning, I'm expecting to see gold take out this high right here. Once gold takes out the high around this region here, we'll be expecting a return and then a bullish run to the upside. So for gold this morning, I'm expecting it to break this high, then we'll look out for another possible trade entry. The first trade entry would have been this region right here, but this didn't unfold clearly as we would have preferred. So we're expecting gold to break out of this region. Now, if you look at the 5 minutes time frame on gold, you see that interestingly, it has already even started breaking 5-minute structure, as you can see right here. So we're expecting that gold is going to keep buying, because right here we would have gone ahead to look for a good entry point, but none printed at this particular point. The last one I printed was this evening star pattern right here. At this point, we didn't see any bullish engulfing or evening star pattern. So we'll be watching out to see if any is going to form around this region. We'll be taking our buy on gold to the upside. So we are bullish on gold this morning, and we're looking out for possible entry points from where price currently is to take us all the way to the upside for us to keep buying gold and making profits off this particular analysis. So that is my bias on gold. Quickly, let's look at the yen basket and the yen pairs. Starting off with the yen basket, looking at how it has unfolded, we've had microstructure to the upside, where we saw the yen basket making bullish runs to the upside, and you can see how bullish how strong the bullish candles were compared to the weak bearish candles we've had in the past couple of days. We're expecting it to continue, and one of the price points we're expecting it to get to is somewhere around here. So we're expecting this bullish run to continue all the way to this particular price point here. So for the yen baskets, we're expecting it to continue buying all the way to this particular level. Now, how does that imply to our yen pairs, and how are we going to take advantage of it? For the yen pairs, we expect it to continue selling, or to resume selling rather. And one of the places we expect it to sell all the way to is this particular price point right here. Price has struggled to break it since it broke this one here. It has been struggling to break this new price point that's created around here. So we're expecting that to play out, and we're expecting sell-off to happen on the yen pairs, starting off with GBP JPY. On the 4-hour time frame, you could see that the price action has been very sketchy, not so clear. Overall, we're still expecting a bearish bias to. So for GBP JPY, I'm expecting a quick sell-off all the way to the downside. Seeing that price has gone ahead to take out the high of Asia and also the high of last it's about to be taken out, which is somewhere around here. We will be watching to see what price will do around this price point. So for GBP I'm expecting a sell from this particular place where price is at the moment. We want to see a quick sell to the downside from here. So this is my bias on GBP. I'm expecting a sell right now. So for me to get a proper sell entry, I would want to see an engulfing candle to the downside or an evening star pattern printing out, and then I'll be taking my sell on GBP all the way to the downside. Now, if you look at Euro JPY, I'm expecting similar bias, which is a sell. If you look at it on the daily time frame, you see that for Euro JPY, we already had a bearish bias because price has broken this low to the downside. So we're expecting it to continue selling off all the way to the downside. Seeing that we have a retracement right now, we want it to unfold clearly and would resume our sell bias for Euro JPY. If you look at it on the 15-minute time frame, you would also notice that price has already made this long bullish run. We don't expect it to continue for so long. We're looking forward to seeing a resumption in the sell trend, seeing how far the buy trend has gone, and also seeing on Euro JPY that price is struggling to break this particular high right here. So we're not expecting it to go so far from here. We're looking forward to a correction to the downside and a resumption of the bearish trend. So once we see that on Euro JPY, we're going to be triggered to take ourselves on Euro JPY all the way to the downside. So any moment from now, I'm looking out for a sell on Euro JPY and on GBP JPY. And then for gold, any moment from now, we're looking forward to a buy setup, which will be entering and riding all the way to the upside to take out the high of the day. That's going to be our first target. And then subsequently, the high of last week will be the next target until we get to our point of interest for the buys. Okay, so quickly, we're going to be analyzing the dollar index, GBP USD, and Euro USD. And to analyze that for us, we have Cynthia here who's going to be sharing her bias and our analysis with us this morning. Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning, CJ. That was a wonderful analysis from your end. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be looking at what the market has for us during the course of this week. And if you've not shared the link to everyone in your contact list, please five to six, right? Shoulder sweep break. There's another block right here for the sliding left shoulder and what the price trading into. So once price get there and it's warming up, we take the sell of the XY and heading straight traded even into a premium level, and at premium level, I'm looking out to catch a bit of a retracement before the continuation of the buy on the XY, right? So I want to see price retracing into this fair value gap right here, and even eventually into the other block residing underneath it. So for this week, I'm looking out for a sell to buy. A sell right into this fair value gap and even into this other block. And once price gets there, Let's look out for what GBP/USD is doing, right? So on the weekly time frame, of course, we've been looking at the left shoulder for a buy at 1.24683 shoulder sweep break. Once price returns into this level, I want to ride the buy of GBP/USD all the way to the upside. But on the daily time frame, however, we've actually seen that price retraced into this left shoulder and sold off that point. So I'm looking out for price to retrace into a premium level for me to continue the sell of GBP/USD. So this fair value gap right here, we should see price trading into it and eventually even into this other block residing right here. I have 2 points of interest as to where I want to continue the sell of GBP/USD. First place is this fair value gap on the daily time frame, and second point of interest is this other block right here. Heading to the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing that, of course, the prevailing trend is actually a downtrend and the buy is short term, just a retracement that we're willing to catch. And the most recent price action on the 1-hour time frame tends to be bullish. So I want to ride the buy all the way to the daily fair value gap and the other block. All we're looking out for right now is entries. Where do I want to enter the buy of GBP/USD, the short-term buy that I just called out right now? I want to enter the buy once price retraces into this left shoulder for a buy at 1.31704. Shoulder sweep, there's even a fair value gap. Amazing point of interest for the buy. There's a fair value gap right here. There's the left shoulder right here. And once price gets there, I will be pulling my trigger for the buy of GBP/USD. You can set your pending orders at 1.31704 so that price can trigger your orders and you will take opportunities in the market. On Euro USD being the last pair on my list weekly time frame, of course, I keep reiterating that we want to see price retracing right back here. Price should retrace into this level 1.06584, right? And once price gets there, I want to, we want to go bullish on Euro USD. On the daily time frame also, we're seeing that price has actually tapped into this left shoulder for a sell, shoulder sweep break, return right back into this level, and we saw that price sold all the way. Of course, we want to keep selling. Remember our point of interest on the weekly time frame. We want to sell all the way to that left shoulder before buying to the upside. So this is what I'm speculating that price will do. Price will retrace into this fair value gap. They literally do the same thing, GBP/USD and Euro USD. They are kind of correlated. So we should see price retracing into this level and eventually into this other block. 2 points of interest as to where I want to continue riding the sales of Euro USD. 4-hour time frame also, right? Coinciding with our markup, there's also a fair value gap right here that we're seeing and speculating that price should trade all the way into. On the 1-hour time frame, most recent price action is bullish. We've seen the break of structure, change of character, and we've seen price riding all the way to the upside. On the 15 minutes time frame, we want to look out for entries. And right here, I'm willing to pull the trigger. I'm willing to long Euro USD once price retraces right back into this left shoulder at 1.13501. Please set your pending orders, your buy limit at 1.13501. I'm reiterating again, 1.13501 is where I want to take the buy of Euro USD. With that being said, we'll be heading straight to the synthetics market to take opportunities and to see what the market is doing at that end. Lekon, what are we expecting this week for the synthetics market?
Hello. 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 All right, all right. Sorry for that break in transmission. So sorry about that. Is the sound from my end. All right. So right now, as you can see, on the daily time frame, what we are seeing is that price is targeting the diagonal liquidity, and you can see price has already taken out all this liquidity level. But I'm still of the opinion, until we see proper market structure shift on lower time frame, that's when we'll begin to follow price all the way back down again. But on the 4-hour time frame, whenever we see market structure shift on maybe 1 hour for the pullback of the 75, that's when we can take a brief sell. But right now we are very much bullish, and for us to join the bull run, the bullish move on the 75, we'll be waiting for price to get to this particular region, which is this shoulder here. So when price get to this shoulder, we can easily follow through all the way to the upside. In a nutshell, we are waiting for price to get here. When price get to this zone, then this is more of a high probability trade than waiting for price to than trying to sell in a bullish market. However, if we go to our 1 hour time frame, when we see a market structure shift on 1 hour, then we can consider selling all the way to this zone where we want to buy. But right now, all we want to do is watch and see what price does in the course of the week as we await price get to this zone for us to join the buy of a 75 index. And if you check 1 hour time frame, this particular region, I know we would want to consider this as a shoulder, but is not really a very strong one. However, it is still a setup for us, but I will call it a low probability. So when price get there, you may give it a shot in the course of the week, you may give it a shot and follow through to the upside. But the most premium and the most profitable setup that we are looking at is on the 4-hour time frame, which is this that we have marked out around this region. So that is that for the 75 index. Let's move straight to 75 1S and see what is price doing on 75 1S. For 75 1S, we have our level marked out since Friday, where we are expecting price to trade into, which is this shoulder level, and that is where price is gradually approaching right now. And I'm of the opinion that we should wait and be patient enough to see price trade into that region, then we take buy all the way back up again. As a matter of fact, I have a pending order sitting right at the 47,800 level, 4,800 level, and the SL just below here. What I'm trying to say is that we want to see price tap into this region, and when price gets here, we execute our buy order and allow price to run further to the upside. All right, so that is that for 75 index. Very clear and straightforward on its own. Now for lastly for today, we have VIX 10 index itself. If you look at it on the daily time frame, we already have a market structure shift around this zone, this particular level. We already have a market structure shift that happened on Friday. So we are of the opinion that price, all things being equal, price should pull back, especially if today's candle closes bearish, then we know that we are going to see a pullback all the way to this zone. Now, if you look at it from the 4-hour perspective, the pullback is somewhere here. This is it here. So we expect price to trade all the way to this shoulder, then price to take out this inducement that we have seated around this point here. When price takes it out, then we are expecting to go long on VIX 10 index. So this is what we are looking out to see play out on VIX 10 index for the week. All right, so this is it for the week for VIX 10 index. We want to long it all the way to the upside. However, if we check on the lower time frame and we see a proper market structure shift around this zone, we may go to our lower time frame to look out for entry and follow it all the way down here. But this is the ultimate entry for us to look out for in the course of the week so that we can join the trend, knowing fully well that on the daily time frame we already have a market structure shift. All right, so that is that for the synthetic market for this week, and let's wait and see what plays out of the market for the rest of the week. Right about now, we're going straight into the indices market to see what are the opportunities we have in the indices market, so we can also jump on it as usual. So we'll be having Demola come on board this morning. Good morning, Demola.
Good morning, Lincoln. Thank you for the analysis on synthetic. All right, very briefly, we'll be going into the indices market, US30, NAS100, and S&P 500. Sure, to some people that looks strange. We're still talking about Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and of course, the S&P 500. Some other persons know it as US 500. It's still the same thing depending on the broker you're using. Starting off with US30 this morning, if you can see my screen on the daily time frame, see that we are still bullish, although we had huge rejection last week. This is a very strong support level, if you'd ask me. All right, we have this zone. Let me change this. Too much. Okay, this is a very strong support level, right? Or resistance level, sorry. A strong resistance level price. I've tried multiple times to break out of this zone. What we've seen over time is rejections, right? We have the first rejection here, second rejection here. This obviously shows, and this morning we are trying to also still break above this level. Technically looking from what we have here, the moment price breaks above here, the next place for us to take out liquidity will be this next zone, right? Immediately from the daily time frame, it's obvious. This is the next liquidity zone that will be taken out. Obvious, right? On the daily time frame. Of course, taking out this other small one, which it can happen even before New York session. But nonetheless, it is the overall target we're looking at, the price feel. And if we're looking at this zone, then we'd want to now start watching out for buys, because technically we are still bullish, right? Fundamental in the market is still a bit neutral, unlike before that it was clearly bullish, right? Now it's a bit neutral with the ongoing conversation. Moving to the 4-hour time frame, we'd see that price have used all areas of interest around this zone. Other blocks have been used, fair value gaps have been used. So wait for price to give us a new area of interest or a new, point of interest. There, fair value gap, another block on the lower time frame, coming to the 1-hour time frame, which we can now use to take trades to the upside. Even on that, we've not still seen anything yet, right? What happened last week, if you remember, we're trying to sell from this zone. So they did, and then, violated the entire setup. And that is also a testament to the fact that we are bullish, right? So on the 45 minutes time frame, we've seen price use this area, right? This box pattern, a sweep, break, and then price returning to this zone, then it's pushing to the upside. We've seen a shift of structure on this zone here, rather shifted structure in a bit. So we know that we are bullish, right? We are bullish. Let me change this so that's we are bullish. However, even up until now, I've not seen that zone we can use to enter our buy. Probably we would wait till New York session to take that buy, or we just allow the market to be thin for today, then resume our buyers tomorrow, right? In terms of watching out and scouting out for buy opportunities in the market. On the 15-minute time frame, okay, this looks like a zone that's not been used, right? This other block here. And then we have different form of liquidity underneath it. So we can watch out for this, right? Of course, remember target is overall that daily high that we have, and then price covering all of this. This is like 1:10 trade, right? This is like a 1:10 trade setup. So we're watching out for this. Remember, started like this last week also. We were able to catch cumulative 1:27-ish, 1:18, and 1:9 altogether, right? So we'll be watching this markup and then seeing how the market reacts, because we know we have bullish price has shifted structure, and we have some form of sweep break, and then price has given us multiple liquidity around this zone. So we expect this liquidity to be cleared, diagonal liquidity, tap into this, and then we continue our journey to the upside. Where are we going to? We're going to the last week high for price to go and clear last week high. So that being said, moving on to the next pair with NAS 100. NAS 100 also, we can see that we are still bullish technically in this market, right? We had a rally to the downside last week, right? So, and then price tapped into the origin of that rally and is beginning to sell to the downside. Excuse me. So on the daily time frame, we are seeing this reaction of this other block, right? This reaction of this other block, and price is beginning to push to the upside. On the 4-hour time frame, the same thing is happening. This other block is all of these price movements is reaction of this 4-hour other block, right? Let me reduce it to this. Okay, so we have this price is reacting off of this other block. I want to see a shift in structure, right? Probably on 1 hour, 15 minutes, a shift in structure to the upside, a bullish shift. Then I can now start actively looking for buys in this market, right? And the 1 hour, let's see if there's a shift already. Okay, there seems to be like a shift already in this zone, but then I want to see more of that and then come into, okay, I'm seeing something interesting, right? This zone can actually, price can pick up from a retest of this zone. Although I would have preferred if we had like a sweep of this previous loop, right? That would give us proper rejection, right? So there are two scenarios I'm saying here. Either price comes to this zone and then see a clean pickup, or we'll see price coming into this zone, pick out this zone, right? And then come back into this, continue, right? I'll be watching out for the entry signature that we'll see once we see price movement around this area, right? And then, of course, where are we heading to? First target will be this. First target will be this, right? But this seems to be like a sell box pattern. So that will be our first target. Overall, where are we heading to? Of course, this zone here. And so that will be our take profit. And regardless of which of the zones, we are looking at a minimum of 1:4, which stay a good trade. All right, so that's it on NAS 100 and on S&P 500. So let me close this figures. S&P 500 on the daily time frame, we are also still what? Bullish, price reacting up from the 4-hour or daily order block, like we had on NAS 100 4-hour time frame. And see that rejecting all these this other block, right? Tested it before now, and then it's still testing the area again on the 1-hour time frame. What do we see? What do we see? Right? There's no other block around this zone yet that we can use on the 45 minutes or 30-minute time frame. Price already rejected, tested this other block on 30 minutes, which is very good because we had a shift, a proper shift in structure, and then price came back to test this zone. These are the type of setup we are looking out for. But notwithstanding, why we don't have area of interest yet on S&P 500, can make do with the setup on NAS 100 and US 30, right? I'm using S&P 500 as confirmation, right? And if for any reason we see that setup happen before New York session or during New York session, that's fine, and we can just go ahead with it. All right, I hope this makes a lot of sense to us. That being said, we'll be coming to the last part of the market follow today with analysis on commodity assets, looking at what the market has today. All right.
All right, thank you for that. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to today's market call session. So we're going to round up today's analysis. Just give me a second, please. Okay, so we're going to round up today's analysis, look at commodity currencies to see the opportunities that present themselves long-term and also for today, so we can make some money from this market, right? Starting off with AUD/USD on the H4 time frame, you'd see how we've seen consecutive break of structures of this asset class to the downside. Sunshine has now been printed, and the next major support level that we have on this asset class higher time frame is somewhere all the way down here. Before I proceed, I know that not all of us have these indicators installed on our platform. This is primarily for students of the academy, but I wouldn't want that to, distract you. All you want to do is to take note of the price point that I'll be calling around here and put that on your Nikkei chart if you do not have these indicators on your system. So, as I was saying, the major support level that we have on AUD/USD, which could stand in the way of these break of structures we've been seeing, is somewhere around 0.68377. Until then, price is still giving us, these consecutive break of structures. But Sunshine has been printed. Now, when Sunshine gets printed, we know that people who are selling this market are starting to take their profit, so we should expect a temporary buy. Now, buy into what zone? You see that we have a fair value gap around here, which happens to be in confluence with a previous support that could turn current resistance right here, which makes this a high probability level. There's also a bunch of diagonal liquidity that is resting around this zone that could also attract price. You then see why we marked out certain level points as places that could serve as resistance to continue to push price down. The first one is 0.69940, which is where we looked at on H4, the support level that could turn resistance, and the fair value gap that we saw on the higher time frame right around here and around here. We also have another POI on the higher time frame, which is here, covering all of the diagonal liquidity that we see resting around the side on the chart. So my major point of interest on the AUD/USD H1 is now 0.69940, 0.70999. And then for where price currently is also a key level, which is 0.69080. For this particular session, I am watching closely to see AUD/USD break through the zone. When I see a break above this zone and a retest, then I know for sure that the retracement that we're looking at on AUD/USD is in full force. So because this strategy allows me to take, the counter trades, I'll be looking for confirmations on the lower time frame to take a quick buy of this asset class, but of course, reducing my risk in the process because you really want to go in as hard as you would when you're following what the market is doing, right? So when I say confirmations, I'll just take a little out of this market and let the rest run. So that being said, overall bias is what a sell following the consecutive break of structures, consecutive confirmatory break of structures that we've seen happening here. So it is still a sell, right? Price will sell, and then when price comes here, we'll watch if the support level would hold or not. Should price violate this zone, best believe that AUD/USD is going to continue downward. So we're looking at temporal buys to sell of AUD/USD. You'd also see on the 5-minute time frame that we have now marked out 4 basic levels that could serve as POIs for today's price move, and even tomorrow or next, depending on when price trades into these levels, because AU can be a very slow asset class sometimes. So 0.68755, 0.68866, 0.69175, and 0.69251 are now the major POIs I'm watching out for on M5. What does this mean? I'm basically saying that I want to see break and retest of these key levels and confirmations that they're going to hold, so that I can take a quick buy of this market to go and tap into those liquidity that we saw on H4, or even clear them before I now reposition myself for sell opportunities. Price has now broken through and I've come back to retest these indicators. If I want to be on the safer side, I'd want to see that level that we marked out on H1 broken, or even all the way down here, because it's not a lot. We're not exactly in a hurry, right? So from where price currently is to levels that it could break through is about 30 pips. If you're a very conservative trader, you would want to wait for price to break through all these zones and retest so you can start to buy. However, this is already giving signs of confirmations. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a brief network break, but we're back and active right now. So as I was saying, starting from AUD/USD on the H4 time frame, we see that we've had change of characters and confirmatory break of structures of this asset class to the downside. And I stated this being the next major support level that we have, basically meaning that price could either violate this level and continue to sell in line with what we've seen price do since sometime around April, or this support level is going to hold hands, pushing AUD/USD to continue to buy, right? But for now, we're looking at sell opportunities. Then we look at what price has now done recently. We saw sunshine indicator printed, signifying that people who were selling this market are now starting to take profit out of the market, right? So what do we expect? We expect a temporal buy, but where would this buy retrace into? There is a previous support that could act as current resistance right around here. Before that, there's a fair value gap line down around that zone that gives us extra confidence that price, all things being equal, should trade into this level. And I also highlighted this diagonal liquidity around here that price will also want to trade into to come and wipe out. Hence why you see that we now have certain levels that are points of interest on the 1 hour time frame. What are they? I'm going to call them again one more time. The first point of interest is 0.69940. The second point of interest, 0.71213. And then the third one, which is where price already is 0.69087. Right? So these are now the levels we're watching out for. If price comes to break through where it currently is, we see a clear breakthrough of this zone, best believe I'm going to be going in for AUD/USD buy from here, targeting the most recent POI that is lying above it at 0.69940. On the 5-minute time frame, you see that we have 4 major levels that have also been marked out. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's high, and day before yesterday's low, all marked out into today's price movement. I am now saying that yes, my overall perspective of this asset class is a sell, but I'm looking at buy to sell opportunities, because price will not just move in one straight line. It is going towards rest, give a pullback before it continues to dig deeper into the next major support level that we saw on H4, right? So This is where price currently is now. We could see a break above and a retest to give us that temporal buy opportunities so that we can now buy into our higher time frame POIs right around here or even here should price violate all of those levels to the upside before we now continue to see more sell opportunities. Moving into NZD-USD now on the H4 time frame, right? What do we see? Now, this is clear. This is a clean sell market. Price has just been digging and digging and digging. The next major support level that could stand in the way of NZD-USD sell is all the way down here, which is still not too far, but this is the H4 time frame, so it's a lot, right? Sunshine has now been printed here. So similar to what we spoke on liquidity line around here, there's previous support that could become resistance in future. So you see how price or why price has to give us that retracement. You now notice that we marked out our point of interest on each one as well, 0.56591. The second one being 0.57436, the third one being 0.58402. These are now the three POIs that we have marked out as levels that could act as resistance to continue to push price down. So it's still far. Look at the gap between this. So should we see confirmations on NZD-USD, we're going to take temporal buy opportunities because again, we're looking at buy to sell on these two related asset classes. So price has now traded into our 5 minutes POI. You see how we marked out those 4 zones as well. Yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low as well. Price has tapped into yesterday's high. We're seeing the reactions. What I think is going to happen on NZD-USD is this. There's going to be a bit more sell in here, and then price would eventually buy to violate these zones from here all the way up, and then come to retest this zone, giving us more room to buy NZD-USD from where price currently is into the next point of interest, 0.57436, right? Except we now happen to have some sort of fundamental news release that comes and acts differently. So that is that for NZD-USD. And finally, looking at USD CAD on the H4, price has been buying for a long time. Sunshine printers were expecting temporal sell opportunities. So yes, for this week, we're looking at sell to buy opportunities on All right, we're back. Sorry about that, network issues. So we're going to quickly go through USD CAD again from the top so we can see what we're looking at on this asset class, right? So price is predominantly to the upside. Sunshine has been printed on this asset class. So we're expecting a sell to buy type of move. We've marked out our point of interest, 1.38951, 1.40992, and 1.41910, right? Going down to the 5 minute time frame, you'd see the major POIs we're watching out for. We're basically saying that since price has now come to retest this zone, we are going to see a retracement from where it currently is, maybe targeting here. It could continue to sell from this level, or it could come and retest the trend indicator, which is this red one. Come and retest this zone before we see the sell continuation happen. Regardless, my bias for USD CAD is what? A temporal sell to continue to buy, and my bias for NZD-USD is a temporal buy to sell. Same thing for AUD-USD as well. And that is pretty much it for this morning's session. I believe we've all marked out all the levels that my colleagues and I have marked out. Let us make some money from this market. Now, if you're somebody who is not a trader, you just happen to join us for the first time, and everything we're saying sounds very foreign to you, I totally understand. you should send us a WhatsApp message to 081 60 99 50 30 and let us guide you through from a total beginner level to where you not just understand the market, but you're also able to make consistent cash flow from this market. Once again, I remain Sabi Abi. I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to invite a friend to join, the Value for Trading community. Okay, with that being said, have an amazing week. Cheers to profitability this week. Bye for now. God bless.